Hey everybody, this is Sally Griffin, aka Millionaire Yogi, and I help visionaries become world-changing influencers. And I'm teaching you that, right? So you all should have one of these little messages that you're putting together every time you speak. And I was telling Adrian last week, it took me years to get this one. I mean, it's so authentically what I'm up to. But one of the things is when you have to speed up the energy, which we're doing right now, we're speeding up frequency. And what happens when you are able to speed up the frequency in response to a crisis or anything in your life, like we can call it a crisis because it's universal, but you can imagine any other kind of crisis going on. And if there's a response that you're able to give it, which is to kind of speed up the way you're operating. And then what happens is you will see things slower as they unfold because you are speeding up the response. So when I'm giving you these tips, I could write an essay on them. I could spend weeks on this. I could, take you through step by step of it. But I'm trying to get you so that you're just firing on all cylinders right now and taking you to a professional level, because what you're seeing is a lot of people coming on Zoom, online, and full respect to them, but they're doing it like amateurs. And so we want to give you something. So that little piece sets me aside as a professional right there, because I'm introing over and over and over again. And I had to practice it in front of the mirror at one point, throwing out parts of the sentence when I was, it was too long, or it didn't hit the right spot. And if you can get yourself to that stage right now, that's speeding up your frequency. It will mean that when you come online, you're no longer just, oh, hi, I'm me. I'm just fumbling around trying to get this together in the state of crisis. You just like game on. And what happens is you get authority right there in your business world. So, how are you guys? What's up? What's happening? Do you want to go in order, or are you just experiencing joy right now, or is it feeling contained, or what's going on? Be nice to...
Hi, Sally. Hi, Adrian. I'm feeling really joyful right now, actually. I've got some chocolate in my mouth. I've just relocated, and I thought I might not have internet here, but we've got an abundance of internet. Actually, we've got I've got 24 gigabytes that I can tether from my mobile, and we've just ordered a router with 1,000 gigabytes a month on it. So we're doing really well for internet.
Right.
So that was my main concern. I've got 2 weeks in quarantine, so literally 2 weeks where I can just get my head down and focus on getting things done.
Yeah.
So I feel really joyful about what we've managed to manifest in the last couple of weeks to get to this stage. As for the business, I had a conversation with the director of the graduate school at Westminster last week, and she's invited me to do a live Zoom next week on well-being when writing for her students. So we sent out a poster, and they've sent out an opt-in. I don't have my back end set up yet, but that's what I'm working on this week. So what they're going to do is collect emails for the students who want to sign up for that, and then I'll send them the Zoom link, and then they will have that data so that I can contact those students once I'm set up to do that. I've offered the same services to a contact at Salford, and I'll then start rolling that out to wider universities as a live option, whilst I'm putting together everything that I need to create the back end and the downloadable product of the video files and the downloadable content, so that can become self-sustaining and self-perpetuating over the next month or so.
That's great. Well done you. So you're in Dorset or wherever you were going?
Yeah. Down in Dorset now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
great. And there was a big concern about the internet quality, which, you know, really at this point is essential.
Yeah.
It just is. So that was the choice, whether or not you could get that. But great. That's really good.
Yeah, it was my main concern.
You're good space. You're seeing quarantine is not really quarantine, but it's like time to get down to business.
Yeah. And I'm in a great environment. It's going to be a good space for creating video content and stuff. It's a nice looking place. I'm in a luxury pine lodge.
Lovely.
Yeah.
If only you had to consider the coronavirus and go out and make a living for me. So how's Adrian? How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Yeah, I had some really good breakthroughs yesterday in my relationship, which, you know, fixing one thing fixes everything. So I'm feeling really optimistic about that, and pretty detached from the outcome of everything, like just taking it one day at a time, which feels nice for a change for me. And there's a possibility that we might move, even though we just came to San Diego in October. I know my significant other really wants to go back to Colorado, and I feel more open to that now. Whereas before I was like, no way. So yeah, there's some pros and cons, and I feel like I've been meditating every day, which has been different. And I think that just from having that practice, it helps me to like surrender and know that you can't really plan too much. Like we were planning on traveling and doing all this stuff, and then like the world comes, this is actually, we should do this instead. So I think that that's just the main message, is to trust. I've been posting more on social media, which is also a big breakthrough, because I went through an uninspired phase for a really long time. And I see Sally's question. We actually might go to Boulder. Yeah, we used to live in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and we're looking at Boulder because it's like not as tiny as Steamboat, but Boulder is like big enough that it's near Denver. So there's like entrepreneur stuff for me, and then there's trails for him. So I feel like that would be a good fit, and he would be a lot happier. And also it's not like there's networking stuff coming here. So there's not really as much keeping me here. So I feel more open. This week, I really want to like focus in on a few things for my business. And so I'm hoping that from this call, I can kind of get a sense of where I should be allocating my time.
Oh, that's great. And I've been to Boulder too, and I love it. Actually, it's a very high frequency place with, I would say, you know, the thing is about San Diego and that is that everybody is there, you know, everybody and their mother and their grandmother and 7 generations of other coaches and all the rest of it. But if you can distinguish yourself slightly, and Colorado is so switched on, it's, you know, it's got all the health stuff, all the yoga stuff, all the mindset stuff, all the weird stuff. It's a fantastic entrepreneurial hub, actually. So where I've shifted in a little bit of my business right now is I'm working with a lot of business people versus all the coaches all the time. Because what happens in San Diego, and that was, you know, a big hub for me as well, is you're always speaking to coaches. But when you broaden your business out, as some of you will know, actually the business world is a much bigger pool. And, you know, a lot of the strategies and that some of the insight that I get about crisis and all of that stuff, it's because business people have gone through it time and time again. You know, the older you are, the more of those dips you've had. Yeah.
I just thought of something that I had this idea like a week ago, and I forgot about it until this moment. And I was going to ask you. And so now I'm remembering to ask you. So I told you that I was leading like 30-minute Zoom workouts every single day on Zoom. And those are going really well. They're growing. Everybody is inviting their mom, their best friend. It's really cool to see that community. But the idea that I had, because I used to think like, oh, corporate wellness is a really great way to make money. But there's so many corporate companies that are all remote that I could bring in like the fitness for remote companies and do it on Zoom. What do you think of that?
I think it's great. The number one thing that you guys all need to get right now, and this, I've got several number ones, but this is the number one of several number ones, is you need to pivot, is the language that's used in business. You need to spin your business to the climate right now. And so that means your messaging needs to change right now. And, I teach this thing, and I'd like to say hello to the others too in a minute, but I teach this thing, which I think is because I'm so hardwired as an entrepreneur, not just as a coach. Like, I've been a business person for years, long before I became a coach. It was because of that background that I then became a coach, because I've had a lot of experience. And really, if you can hit the ground running, and I've already talked about this for 2 weeks, anybody who's come into contact with me, like what to do, I'm like, hit the ground running, like get online, like figure it out. The other piece of that, which Adrian will relate to, is you're an analyzer and you're a perfectionist. So Adrian is a perfectionist analyzer. In times like this, it's hardest for them to pivot because they want to be perfect by the time they put the presentation out, right? But if I can tell you this one piece, if you get your message right, you don't even have to know what the program is. It establishes itself. Like, I just know that anything I put out, right, I will be speaking to you on Zoom and I will be training you in a very personal way. That's what I do. I don't need reams of pages to say exactly what will be happening for you, where you will be, where we will be, what we will do, because it all unfolds on Zoom. It's a conversation. But if I get the message right, then the program can be handled anyway. And that's the number one thing I want you to think about. Change your message to suit the times right now. And the spin that you need to give it is, and I talked a little bit about this on another call, is that if you have a group of people who you speaking to, or your clients who say are the depressed crew, or the traumatized crew, or the whatever it is that's a slightly negative, then what you have to do is reach to that group, but put a positive spin on it. And I spoke to Dagmar about that last week, that you don't want to lead with you want to lead with the pain point, but you don't want to lead with the pain. Like, have you found yourself getting depressed utterly about isolation? I mean, that's so old hat. That's what a lot of American advertising agencies use. You'll see it all over the TV. What you want to say is something along the lines of 3 things I was able to inspire my life with from understanding where depression came from. It's a totally different spin. You're mentioning the depression, but you're not lingering in it at all. And actually you're showing the other side of it. So success right now, the people who will be successful in this climate, and all of you will be because you're already pivoting, is to get your message right now to the right people. So you're speaking to remote corporate, absolutely. Can you imagine going in with the old corporate thing, like, I'm a corporate coach, or I'm doing fitness for corporates? It's like irrelevant now. They're all at home. Many of them will not go back to jobs. So you need to already be changing the spin that you're giving it to, remote groups, people who are remote. Do you want to meet with like, even a thing that you could do is work with groups or office groups who are now working remotely, whatever that angle is. And I know myself, I'm a very, very long-term yogi, but my God, last 2 weeks, every time I got on the yoga mat, I would just be like fidgeting around thinking, oh, there's something I need to do in business, and then I need to do that. And so actually the only way I've broken it is to sign up for online classes. I'm not motivated enough right now. I always am towards yoga, but I had to fit it in, like, in my schedule to make it really happen. Now I'm doing it every day. It's brilliant. So you can say that, when offices are going crazy with the stress and what's going on and all of this, what they lose is the nourishment, the healthcare, well-being, the exercise, the breath work, that's what goes out the window. Same with mothers who are suddenly, they've got, you know, their kids at home for God knows what, till the end of August. Some of them have been announced, like the kids aren't going back to school in England until end of August. So suddenly these parents who might have been corporate, and then all the childcare is in place, suddenly you've got your kids, there's homeschooling, there's all of that. And how do you find that peace of well-being in the middle of it? You have to be invited by somebody like you, and then the commitment comes from scheduling it in and finding different times. So
So what do you think about like getting an email? That way, like, I forget all the perfectionist stuff. Just pick like 5 companies today that are all remote and then email them all like the same email that says, like, I'm trying to think what would be compelling enough for them to email me back. Like, should I say, right now I'm trying to work with one company and like offer you 1 class for free to try it out? Like, what do you think?
Well, it's always the thing about the hook, right? And you've got to think what the hook is. The problem is that there are so many hooks right now which are going to keep you poverty stricken if you don't also have the back end in place. So you can offer, this is what I recommended last week, you can offer one thing either for free or donation or at a low cost, but you clarify from the outset, this is this one thing that I'm doing. And thereafter it will be X, Y, and Z. So people's expectations are always there. And I just want to say hi to Tina and to Marie and to Dagmara. But let's talk, let me just get everybody to say hello as well before we go on. So Tina, pop on with me for a minute, because that's exactly what's happening with you. And it's very relevant to this conversation.
Yes, it is. So I have a small business called Transformation Table, and I create space for people of diverse backgrounds to come together, share a meal, and as a way to connect and to share their stories and to break down walls and stereotypes that often impacts our relationships with each other. And since the virus started, obviously I couldn't do the in-person dinners like I was doing them. So I just did a virtual dinner on Saturday, and I am very much a perfectionist and think things to death and had to really push myself to just do it. And I did identify things that I need to shift and that I need to change. But I'm excited about it because the dinners that I was doing were local. And when I was able to do them, when I switched them to Zoom, I got people from other states and other countries, which I'm very, very excited about. So for me, I think this opportunity now is my opportunity for me to go more global.
Yeah.
I just have to figure out what it looks like, you know, and again, I have that tendency to try to not do anything until I think it's perfect and I have it all figured out. So I'm really trying to not do that and just schedule them and then kind of figure them out as I go, just kind of, you know, see what works.
So Tina, your first event that you did online, because we were talking earlier.
Yes.
You did it. How did you do the payment structure?
Okay, so I did it around a fundraiser because it was early. You know, it's been early in the pandemic, and a lot of people are doing fundraisers and all that. So for me, I didn't want to come right out and ask for money. I just kind of felt weird about it. So I just asked for donations for one of our local food bank projects.
Great. So that's the hook, right?
Yeah.
Right there. And because believe me, you are going to be needing to ask for money right after this. And that's why I want you all to get over this, like, money shame, right? Money shame.
Yeah. But I think for me too, I also have to figure out, you know, because I know what the value was when I was doing the in-person dinners, because I had a chef and there was a culinary experience and all of that. So if I'm going to charge for the Zoom event or the Zoom dinners, I have to figure out what I'm charging for.
Absolutely.
You know, so people understand that there's a value, you know, so that for me, I kind of have to figure that piece out.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can figure that out like right now, because if you can do everything like right now, then it's done.
Right.
And the thing about it, yes, you're changing the model. It's no longer a group of people meeting physically, having dinner together. So the costs, hard costs, are chef, location, food, and hiring of whatever. Now suddenly you're doing it online. Costs are way down.
Yeah.
And it, you know, Tina was saying earlier that she wanted the intimacy of having just a few people. So how many was it that you were aiming for?
We had 14.
14.
Yeah.
However, I was saying that that's great once or twice, and you could do a lot of events in the day to get different time zones for your dinners to go global. But there would be one that I would recommend that you do every week that is gathering in of the global community, which is going to be so exciting for you and for them, and that you make it unlimited. So that way you're not cutting off, you're not making it exclusive, you're opening it up to many people, and that gets the word out, it builds. So of course I was saying, does she have an opt-in page? Because how many months have I been asking you to get an assistant?
Just a few.
Yeah, just a few. I'm coaching Tina. She's working with me right now, but it's hilarious because I think I'm going to get you real about this. I think it was last September.
It probably was.
Yeah,
It probably was. Because I think I have a virtual person that I'll use for just little things, but I haven't hired someone, right? And I do need someone, so maybe that's something that I can, you know, do and ask for. Well,
that'd be great. So 6 months later,
I know.
and
Yeah. No, sorry.
no, go for it. You're gonna.
Yeah, so I was gonna do another event on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that gathering, I could make that one unlimited.
Yeah.
You know, since
It's a great time of the week. It's middle of the week. Perfect.
Okay.
And you make it unlimited, and you make it something like $15 a person to come to your event. That's a higher price than yoga right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the shift that we're doing with you anyway is changing your profile or your business from your transformation table to you. You are the event. And why are you the event? Because you're the conversation. You're the person who holds it all together. Tina's had an amazing story, everybody. So it's a gigantic story. And really where we want to get her is on Oprah. That's where we're going with you. So you have to value what you're doing. That's still a very low price for people. It cuts off the ones that you don't need to see. That's
Right.
great. When you do your freebies or your whatevers, you can do that. You can serve the others. But right now, that's very reasonable to come in and have a conversation with you, and unlimited. And if you got 100 people starting to do that, that's 1,500 a week.
Right. Right.
No, it's not. It's on. Yeah, it is. Sorry, I'm having a mental block on maths, which is always my thing. I'm like, ooh.
Now I could still have people bring food if they wanted, right?
Yes.
And still keep that piece in there.
Yeah, you can. And you know, the other thing about that is you can make it with your event. Up until now, it's been a physical event in live space with real food that you organize. Now the shift that you're making is to the conversations, the feeling, the extra bits, which I was saying, you know, actually you can have, like, say you had different events 4 times a week in the evening. That will work with certain time zones. It won't work with the English because we'll be asleep. But if you then shift
something on the weekend.
Exactly, you could do brunch.
Like I'm doing a brunch on Saturday.
Or lunch. Or you could then shift something to a mid-afternoon lunch. Suddenly you get the Brits and Europeans can come. You can get West Coast America that comes.
Right.
And you make it, I was talking about, like, wear your best outfit, wear your funkiest outfits to this event. Now then it shifts from just being about food. And that's what you want in these times to do. You want it to shift from just being about food
Right.
to being you as the host of a great experience. And the other thing, which she did a funny face at, but I'm still going to say, I suggest it anyway, is that you can do things for couples. You can do things, you could even do things for singles, because I can imagine that right now, and without being cheesy as well,
Sure.
really, like
I
genuinely.
lots of friends who were like, God, I'm so bored eating by myself, because they're single and they're at home by themselves, and so I could totally see doing something like that as well.
And then you can cross-pollinate by collaborating with somebody who, say, is a love coach. And for one event, the love coach is handling the little bits of how, if you fancy somebody or you want to carry on the conversation, you don't have to think about that. That's not your thing, right? But if you invite collaboration in at this point where they are thinking about this thing,
Right.
they can hook up the system of, I want to carry on a conversation with that person afterwards. How cool is that? And the difference, we've talked about we don't want to use the word, let's change it. I'm not even going to say it. The place that you come from is you are a peacemaker. You are on the planet to cause love. That's why you're here. And so if you extend that message through non-separation, right? So you're causing a breakthrough in this spaciousness of, we're all kind of separated right now in a way. You're causing a breakthrough in that. That's on track with your message in a much bigger way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be, play with it. Don't be, oh, I'm not, that's not my thing. Play with it, because I think
it's true.
Your conversation can go is, think of the extent of love.
Yes.
And it's gigantic as a topic, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to.
Yeah, I wrote that down because I actually, when I was thinking about my new tagline for Transformation Table, it was listen, learn, love.
Right.
But so when I have my gathering on Wednesday, so I should think of a topic or something to talk about, right?
Well, what do you think the topic might be that we just mentioned?
Well, I think one thing that we talked about at the Saturday dinner was, I kind of shared my experience of being locked down, because there was an Afghan woman on the dinner as well, and I kind of shared my experience of being in lockdown in Afghanistan, and how my Afghan neighbors always, whenever there was a lockdown, they always had this feeling that those kinds of things were in place to keep Afghans and us apart, and to keep us from getting to know each other and to, learn from each other and all of that. And so I kind of talked about that, and how, we need to make sure that that's not what we're doing, that's not what we're doing now, and making sure that we're still coming from a place of love and connection, and figuring out new ways to connect with each other during this time of fear, because there's a lot I'm seeing online, there's a lot of fear of the other, because people are going out still and people are getting upset, and so there's all this conversation about I got to stay this far away because of course we've got this virus going on, so we have to figure out different ways to connect with each other and still come from a place of love and empathy.
Exactly. So I think keep the key words there: love, connection, and then you can really start to become the hostess when you start to tell your story, which is the piece that you've kept out. And so now I just want to say hi to Marie.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. We're carrying on with this, but I just want to make sure I say hi to everybody. Marie, hello. How are you doing over there in Stockholm?
Yes, Stockholm. Snowy Stockholm today. It's been snowing. Yes, it's freezing outside. Yes. Some indoors now. I have had a great time since the corona alarm. I feel more alive, actually, because I think people are starting to feel things instead of just rushing on. So I have started my YouTube channel, and I have also found a guy who's going to help me with the technical stuff, and make an opt-in to my website. So yeah, so I feel good, and I was so surprised. I put it on YouTube on Tuesday, and it was about 130 who had watched it.
Woo! That's amazing.
I was so surprised. I was just, what? But
Woo! And what was the title of it?
it's a Swedish title, so it's collarbone breathing in Swedish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it strengthened the immune system, and so it's something I did before I started with my intuitive guided sessions. But yeah, it was fun. It was easy, and it was just time for it.
Well, exactly. The timing is amazing for these conversations that can happen right now.
Yeah.
So you're carrying on with your YouTube channel, and then I would start to get consistent about that. The days that you know, this is for everybody. Just get consistent about your times. Don't jiggle all over the place when you feel like it. It's like map out a schedule. So if you look out, we're about to enter April, April Fool's Day. We should put out the coronavirus is over on, we like, yay. So on April, May, June, so you do like a projection of 3 months. Start to look at the days that you're going to do different topics, different variety of things. For Tina, that would mean, when is the big one? When are the intimate ones? When, you know, if there was a love thing, Tina, which I'm hinting at, that I think would be really successful, dress up in your funky outfit and come together for a love dinner.
One of the women that was on the dinner on Saturday is a love coach.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I can actually get in touch with her, and I know she'd love to do something, so.
Perfect. So isn't it all perfect when we collaborate? So if you could, you think of what's a great day for a love day, and why is that? And Marie, start to think, are you going to do some of your more psychic work, or are you also going to do this collarbone breathing, and in which case, which days? Now, I was talking earlier to Tina about this because I coach people who are in Australia and Bali, and then West Coast America mostly, some East Coast, not many, more West Coast, and how that range of global is impacting the way I need to have conversations. So I have set up these two, like Mondays and Fridays, to be able to access West Coast America, East Coast America, Central Time, Canada, and Europe. But on Wednesdays, I'm doing one session, which is 9 a.m. British time, so that I can access Bali and Australia. And that just works for me because I've got some people I coach in Australia. So think about, who are your audiences? If you're doing something intimate, that's great. But, you know, really at this point, it's a global village. So why not? Why not just think global from the outset? And make your message global too, you know, start to tweak your messaging. So there may be one dinner that you want to have, Tina, that's, you know, it's local get together, whatever you want to call that. And that has a reference point, and that's really valid and useful and whatever. But there's another woman that I coach, and I mean, I remember laughing. If anybody knows where Eastbourne is, and Sally does, yeah, right on. But you know, almost the first conversation I had with, you know, your friend who I've been coaching for 3 years now, it was like this. She was like, well, you know, I work in Eastbourne. And I was like, okay, that's got to stop right now. And she was like, oh, I love Eastbourne. I'm like, Eastbourne, sorry, darling, it's never going to happen. Your offer is too big for Eastbourne. You will never, ever, you know. So there was a lot of resistance, and it was hilarious because I remember, she's like, but Eastbourne's amazing. And I'm like, Eastbourne is a retirement home. And no matter what, other people from London will think that, know that. And no matter how much you fight for Eastbourne, just go global. And eventually she did. It took a few months to get her head around that, but she went global. So my advice to all of you is to be global immediately, like to think that way. Because we have, you know, there's going to be waves of different positives happening in different parts of the world. You can think of it like the elements, you can think of it like the seasons. And there will be a time not long from now that we're going into winter season in America. You know, America is going to have some financial problems and crash. So why not pick up some clients from spring season, incidentally, which is going to be Britain, and then have a look at what about trying for summer, which is going over into the East. China is now back on target, right? They're making money. Guess what they're making? A lot of supplies for coronavirus. You know, so, but let's omit China for a minute. They are doing that, but even more east is Singapore. Singapore is its own community hub of entrepreneurs and that. I'm going to start converting money into Singaporean dollars at some point. And I'm telling you guys there right now because of how this crisis will impact currency around the world. And if you can get TransferWise, so I'm going to do this again. I'm going to actually send you out a link from my account to TransferWise so that you can set it up. And I'll do that for all of you. Do I have everybody's emails? Let me think. Yes, I don't have Dagmara. Can you just stick your email on this? I'll take note of it. The reason why I say that is because I'm not somebody who just operates as a coach. I've operated in business, in systems to do with property and finance and investments and all of that. And so when you already know that America's going to hit the a certain level of struggle with its finance, Britain will too. And so if you have an easy account system, which I'll send you, you just set them up. You have to have one account that's in your own country, linked to an online account, which is like American. You can have British. I have to have British because I'm in Britain as well. But I'm going to add in Singaporean dollars. You could also add in Japanese yen. And that would be very useful for you. Just keep it in mind as something to know for the future, that when you get paid, and if you have a little bit of an overflow, don't hold it in American or British pounds. American dollars or British pounds. Put it into the East, where the summer is going to be happening soon. And so if you can also link, for whatever reason, some of you could start to naturally be in time zones where you know, or you've got systems in place to start to link to other cultures, which will be doing very well. And that's where your client base can shift to. And it's how we can work all around the world. Yeah, Dagmara.
Sorry, I just very loud where I am. I have a question about that because I've noticed, I try to do it on Facebook and it seems the Facebook kind of locates you. So
Yeah.
when I used to live in the States, I was there, so I would get people who are following me from the States. Now it's British because I'm in Britain. So
Yeah.
I'm in UK. So I wonder, is there a way to do it on Facebook so you can actually advertise for everybody? Because it seems you always have to put locations on the map when you create posts or events, especially paid ads. They always ask for location.
You can change your location according to setting up a group. So for instance, you could set up a group and then you start to, you know, Adrian was interested in how to deal with Facebook groups and linking to other people. If you literally put in the words Singaporean entrepreneurs, Singaporean food hub, Singaporean whatever, it will still come up, even though those algorithms are keeping us located where we are.
Yes,
right?
exactly. So you can, I think you can choose maybe a few locations, but that's it. Like you cannot do the whole world when you do the ads.
But choose well. So I would choose for me, Bali,
Okay.
LA, London. And if I could only have three, those would be the three.
Mhm.
Now that's taking me halfway around the world at each side. And it's the way that you can start to think, if you know, mostly right now, you'll be spinning out, trying to just get the right message, the right this and that, and moving forward. However, in the downtime, the little bits of downtime you have, you do these other things so it's in place. I'll send you the TransferWise link. So you can just hit the link and sign up, and that will happen. Then you know that you can get a Singaporean dollar account, just like that. And you don't have to worry about when this might happen, but because I've said it to you, you already have that knowledge, whereas many other people don't, right? Same with looking up Facebook groups to link with. Sally, who deals with writing, you could start to look up writing groups who are operating out of Singapore. And just be the one that does that. Make a few connections now. So if you, a thing that I was going to give you that I think is really useful, and I have to get off this call exactly in 10 minutes, is to start to divide your week into different elements. And this will be really helpful in a time when you're going through a considerable change. So think of the thing that you're most aligned with. So for me, I am very watery. You know, I like water. So I started the week on water. That's my spiritual grounding. It's very spiritual connection. It's emotional. And so on Mondays, I wanted to do the 5 elements, one for each day. I've ended up doing something in a different room than my kitchen, which is my main hub for business and focus. I go in the living room. I do my yoga class in a different room, which is a more spiritual room. I make sure I've got out for a walk and I've connected in with nature. I made sure that I did my tantric meditation first thing in the morning. And everything I do right now, this is my give. So this day has got a lot of giving going on, right? And connecting and flowing and whatever. It's not hard business today. So that's my Monday. Tuesday, I've made much more of a strategy. It's more my strategic head going on right then. And I would say that would be more of an earth day, because I'm literally talking about money, how to move the business forward. I'm coming up with ideas around that. Then Wednesday, I would say, is more of a fire day. That's connection day. I'm reaching out to lots of partners, you know, making suggestions and being inspiring and all of that kind of thing. And you can start to do this where you set up, like, you've not just got a sanctuary going on, which may seem very samey, like everything is the same, every day is the same. If you shift the emphasis, so there's different aspects of your business that you're working on throughout, so that you really divide the day into 5 elements, including ether, which is the out there one. It's ether, I would suggest, is more like the adventure, the thing that you imagine way down the way when there is no coronavirus threat. What do you really want to be doing? You should be feeding that. Like, you know, I definitely want a love partnership. And I was saying to Tina this morning, the irony is I've been doing all this tantric work for months to sort of get ready for that moment. Then there's a freaking coronavirus, right? And so the first impulse on that was like, oh, how's that going to work? But I thought, well, actually, what might work is I had always intended on working with a certain matchmaker who somebody else hooked me up with a while ago, who I thought was very authentic. And naturally, normally I would think, oh, this is a bad time because you can't physically see somebody. But on the other hand, what it gets rid of is all the people who just want to have sex. I don't just want to have sex. I want relationship. I want connection. I want to get to know somebody. So why don't I, ironically enough, in the time of Corona, start moving into position with that long-term vision that I have in future and bring it into the now? And really start, I'm going to connect up with that matchmaker and say, let's go, like right now. Because you could imagine who is up for it right now will be very different than swiping Tinder, let's get it on. We can't get it on. Well, we could in a different way. But I'm just saying, you know, so I actually think things can work in a very positive way. And there's another thing. If you start to divide yourself into the different aspects of self that need nourishment, like I was saying to Adrian earlier, though I am a very long-term yogi, I've realized that my head is so scattered right now because of what's going on with the coronavirus that I need a class anchoring me. So I've set it up for every day. and you guys can make what you need to happen. So let's say one day you need to be in nature, make sure it happens on your Earth Day, whichever that is. If you've got to make loads of connections, then make a certain day for that and write it in your diary. So your week starts to become quite different. And also your events could be quite different as well, according to which day you're doing them. I think that's going to be incredibly helpful to you right now, when everything can seem, I mean, I hate to say it, I'm never bored, but I have moments where I'm just thinking like, ugh, you know, ugh, are we going to get bored? You know, I don't even dare say it because I'm really never bored, but that's my freak out. It's not the virus, it's the lockdown, the sameness of everything all the time. And so mindset is going to help you so much. And if you can get into that space of, I'm going to create these different kinds of events and feels, then I need to look after myself in different ways also. So what is that going to look like? You know, and create a flow that's different for yourself each day, and maybe have those different offerings. Every day is a different offering to your people, you know.
Sally, thanks. That was really useful. I just wanted to ask if you could elaborate on air, because you skipped that element.
Air is very communicative. It's all about communication. If you added in the other aspects to it, it would be rapid fire thinking, wit, music, sending out lots of emails. So if there was a writing, it's your writing day, air. Putting on incense, listening to music, floating around, and then doing tons of communication would be great. Hey Yvonne, lovely to see you. Hey.
My little techno challenge, my computer's really been acting up, among other things going on, so I apologize for...
Don't worry, but I'm just going to just give you the good and the bad news. This finishes in about 2 minutes, but you can, the good news is you can watch
on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I'll put it straight back. I'll record up to YouTube, and then I'll put it on The Spirit of Influence and Millionaire Yogi, so that you can watch it back. Yeah, so I mean, okay, do you want me to go through the elements just so you're really clear on that? We're suggesting that each day you might want to see as a different element, and then you would assign yourself which day would be that. So the qualities of Earth, let's start with. Very businessy, family, property, making money, talking money, long-term planning. So it's got structure. Earth is very grounded. And then all the other things that you could do with nourishment, it's to do with cooking and connecting with family and well-being. And, you know, maybe you're somebody who likes to make a point of there's one day that you actually go and put your feet on the earth. You go and see nature. You go breathe in all of the, you know, the natural wonders. I'm doing that every day, but you know, if you weren't, make that Earth Day that day. And then air, communication, technology, cameras, video. So it might be a day when you shoot some photographs, you shoot some videos to upload on another day. Lots of communication amongst different platforms, worldwide communication. And then on the nurturing, it's incense, it's music, sound baths. So I have some singing bowls, so I could do that on that day, which would be very peaceful, that kind of meditation. Water is very much about emotional connections. So if there's something that you have in your business that you need to emotionally connect with people, so it's a great day for team, for me, to say, hey, how are you all doing? You know, being a bit inspiring, this is where we're going, don't worry. How is everybody feeling? Let's check in with each other. It's also a day for spiritual pursuits. So for me, I add in everything on that day. Today is my day for that. So it's a lot of giving, yoga, meditation, my tantric breath work, being good to myself. I did a lot of rubbing in oil because I noticed I was all dried out from the winter. So I did lots of, you know, that's an Ayurvedic practice. So you really rub in oil into your body. and drinking water. Which one haven't we done? Earth. What haven't we done? Fire. Inspiration. Inspiration. So that might be a day when you actually you get online and you really become like this visible presence for your people. You do events. You give very inspirational information. It's a masculine energy, so but it's masculine healing. So it's overt, dramatic, anything to do with rigorous exercise, rigorous practices, all of that kind of thing. But the inspiration, I think, is the most important part of fire, because it's like a candle. It's fascinating, and it needs air to keep going. If you don't feed the inspiration, it dies out. So that's the day when it needs a pulse of energy from you. So I guess that day, I think about it, maybe it's my Facebook Live day, which is Thursdays, because come hell or high water, or for the last 3 years or so, I've done it same time, same day. And I have a topic, and it's consistent. It's just my consistent pulse out. It's always give. And then ether is a accumulation of all the others. And so it's out there. And I was suggesting you, like, think of your future vision for yourself. What do you really want, regardless of circumstance? What is out there? Do you want to travel the world? Where do you want to travel? Don't start thinking about, oh, we've got a travel ban on. Be way out there. How big do you want to get? Tina wants to be on Oprah. I actually want to see Tina on Oprah. So how are you going to get to Oprah? You've got to like really be out there with that one. I want to do lots of public speaking gigs, so I can start imagining on that day, creating those big visions, and it's not about asking how. On those days, I would suggest you even have a combination of all the elements, so that you have, I've said, set up an altar in your house, which becomes your anchor point for your big vision, and you feed it. So you have water on it, you have a crystal on it, which is earth, or literally earth or salt. You have some incense that you light to keep it alive. You say intentions. You have a candle that you light maybe every day at the same time, or not. Just find what's your thing. But I have certain things that are consistent practice, and that really works for me. And others are like, woo, out there. So, and put things on your altar that would remind you of life beyond Corona. Da, da, da. Because it's not going to last. It will go. It will merge with our society. 50 to 80% of people will not even experience it. It's like that. The only reason we've got this focus going on now is because of the lower percentages, which are 2.3 to 5% of the population who are not well, elderly, etc. That escalation is going up in an exponential rate right now. So take your eyes off the news. What was 200 yesterday that died in England will be 400 today. I already know that. We're in the exponential phase. Do I need to see that every day to, give light to the souls who've chosen to leave at this time? That's a group agreement before they even came in. That's a group soul contract of people who are leaving. It's just like the tsunami, group contracts that go on like that. Does it mean I'm not touched, moved, heartbroken sometimes? No. But do I want to see the escalation of the frickin' figures every day, like breakfast, like here we go? No, because that's going on for the next month. That's what has to happen with this thing. And then it will dissipate. So don't get caught up in it. Get yourself looking at your altar instead. What are you really here after the fact to do? And I've got to love you and leave you because I'm jumping on an important call. But I'll be back at Monday at 9. You can always, ask me questions, and I'll send all of you later on the link to TransferWise, and just do it. Just do it. have that new account. It's interesting just how you just sort of, you're saying, ooh, I will have finance. It's an intention, right? So I will see you. The English clocks moved forward this week. So that might be also why Yvonne, and I think that might be Amy who's just arrived. Yeah, we're now 4 o'clock. Now there's 8 hours difference from Pacific time, and that will continue on now. But for the last few weeks, we've been at 7 hours difference, and five and 4 and all of this. So need to look it up. But from now on, it will be the next time that I can see the Pacific coast is 4 o'clock, which is 8 a.m. on Friday for you guys, 8 a.m. in the morning. And Tina, you figure that piece out. We're 5 hours difference. So on Friday, if you want to check in again, how that Wednesday thing went, let's talk about it. Yeah. And have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
So much love.
Mhm.